Asexualized, my asexual life. This is the place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you and yours. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please hit the great big subscribe button down below. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. And don't forget, give this video a thumbs up as we go along. Hello, Michael. I noticed we've got some new subscribers as well on this channel, so thank you so much for the new people who've joined my community recently here. I'm so appreciative of that. If you don't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, which is out on Amazon, and founder of asexualise.com and founder of Asexualise Academy. Well, today I've got a special episode, which is 15 reasons. That's 1, 2, 3, I can count. 3 lots of 5. 15 reasons why it's great to be single. If you didn't know, I founded and launched International Celebrate Being Single Day on February the 14th, 2015. So that was like a few years ago now, 4 years ago. So I launched that so that no single person in the world would ever feel lonely on Valentine's Day ever again. Instead, they could celebrate that day as their own special day. And this is not to be confused with Singles Day. There is a day called Singles Day. Some people report that it's in October. Other people report that it's on February the 15th. Some have even said it can be the 15th or the 14th. This is not the same thing. Singles Day is taking more of a cynical view of Valentine's Day, and it's kind of like like cynical as in, well, it's all lovey-dovey coupley stuff, and it can be kind of a negative connotation with it, or it could be more positive depending how you look at it, but in general it's supposed to be more cynical, like they're kind of taking the mickey out of Valentine's Day. Now, being a romantic asexual and just having respect for people in general, I appreciate anyone who's in love, regardless of the fact that I'm single. It doesn't matter, if couples are around, yeah, in the past it would have kind of made me think, oh, it's a shame I haven't got someone. But by launching International Celebrate Being Single Day, I don't ever think that anymore. I just think, oh, I'm so happy for those couples. Isn't it sweet? Isn't it nice they've got each other? And I've always been kind of like the type of person that appreciates other people being in couples anyway, even if I'm not, because I don't look at another person's life and wished I wanted it in that way, like be jealous of it. There's no point. I'm just really happy for them. Do you know what I mean? But when I was in the past on Valentine's Day, it was a little bit like lonely. I bought myself this cake years ago. It was a heart cake with beautiful pink icing, and that was like the first time I kind of celebrated on Valentine's Day on my own. I remember this is when I could eat wheat. I didn't know I was allergic to it and other stuff, This was at college, back when I was like in birth certificate age. Yeah, this is when I was in college, between the ages of 17 and 19 years of age. But I didn't actually come up with the idea of International Celebrate Being Single Day and launch it then. But I think I might have thought it back then. Like, that is very years ago, isn't it? Yeah, I won't say how many. But it's quite a while. Not in birth certificate age, not in terms of mindset, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, I remember having this cake, and it was at the train station. I bought it for the way back home on that day, and I was a little bit sad. And then all of a sudden, I think that's when I actually had the idea, thinking, well, why don't I celebrate this day as my own special day? But I don't think I called it that in my mind, International Celebrate Being Single Day. I just got the idea to celebrate on my own, because I think it was the first Valentine's Day I'd ever been on my own for a long time, because I was in between relationships at that time, which I used to be in relationships throughout most of my life since teenagers till 2011, but at that particular time I hadn't got anyone. I think it was quite unusual for me, so I was feeling a bit upset, a bit lonely, I guess, a bit left out, and like, oh, it'd be nice to have someone. Then I thought, when I went to get the cake, I'm thinking, no, doesn't matter if I'm not with anyone. I can celebrate this myself and get myself a cake. I don't need permission. So that's when I got the cake, and I kind of think that's when my life changed in that way, in my mind. I kind of got a bit more, I didn't love myself very much back then, but that was like my little bit of self-love, I guess. And the realisation that you don't need a guy to celebrate, that special day. You can feel loved up with yourself, and you can be romantic with yourself, and you don't need anyone else. So yeah, this comes on nicely to my 15 great reasons of why it's so awesome to be single. Now I have written notes on this little scrap piece of paper so that I can remember everything, because I wanted to make sure I got at least 15 in there, as this video says 15, and I thought I might kind of forget something, so I thought I'll just make a few little notes on a post-it note, scribble stuff down. So the first reason, which is super important to all the aromantic asexuals that are watching, that's the people who don't experience romantic attraction or sexual attraction. It's great to be single because you don't have to force yourself to pretend to be romantic when you're not. So I think it's really important that people be their true, authentic self and live the life they want. And I don't think anyone should be forcing anything. And I think as a society in general, it can be very damaging to people saying that the only relationships that are valid are romantic ones or sexual ones. And I think it can be very there's a lot of peer pressure on people when they're younger. And for those of you who aren't romantic at all, you know, the best thing about being single is you're not forcing yourself to be something you're not. You're not forcing yourself to try and be romantic. You're not forcing yourself into romantic situations for the sake of another person. You know, you're allowed to be you and be free in that way more. Because I don't like to see anyone forced or trying to push themselves to do something they're really uncomfortable with. It's not nice. I'd rather the people involved, you know, find more solace and happiness in themselves, and, you know, not try and become someone they're not. Which takes me to my second point, I guess. I think I'm going to end up going a long time on this. You know, it's well, actually, it's kind of number 6, but I've skipped because what I wanted to say is it's all about being your true, authentic self. You know, when you are a single person, I ultimately believe that it's the ultimate freedom to be yourself, if you should choose. Obviously, if you don't love yourself, then, you know, you need to find yourself and love yourself. But you can be, you can be as quirky and unconventional as you want when you're single, which is very difficult to do in a relationship. Like, the ideology of most relationships is you go out to work, 9 to 5 job, 10 to 6, that type of thing. You come home, you cook, or either cook together, one cooks and the other doesn't. You sit in front of the TV, watch the TV, you might go and see your mates occasionally, you know, and it's very much similar day in, day out. When you are single, you can be very quirky and unconventional as much as you like. So this year, I decided, stuff it, I'm living my life exactly the way I want to live it, really live it, and I'm working pretty much throughout every night. I mean, tomorrow I'm going on a self-date, which is another point I'm coming to in a minute. So, you know, it's I've got to get up a bit earlier, and I got up earlier today because I had some stuff to do, but I did sleep like 4.5 hours, I think it was today, because I worked through the night till like, what time did I go to sleep? Actually, it was 7:30, I think it was, this morning. And I got up at 12:30. No, it's nearly 8 o'clock this morning, sorry. So I got up at 12:30. So I think it's like 4.5 hours sleep. Something. Yeah, just over 4.5 hours sleep, was just before 8 o'clock. That's right. So I literally didn't sleep all night. And then, you know, because I was doing work. But I love my life like that. I am so much more active at night. I'm so much more focused, but I have to sleep in the day. So I've worked out that, you know, like they say you should set alarm clocks for like 8 a.m. in the morning, and there's nothing like it, waking up early and making sure you don't hit the snooze button. And actually, I tried that last year, and I kept trying to push myself to do it, and it just didn't work for me because I'm not a morning person. Do you know, so I don't even really get motivated usually to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm living that type of life. And I was falling asleep at my desk, and I was getting really tired because I can't sleep anyway early. So I would go to sleep, get a few hours sleep, but a lot of the time now I'm going to sleep at 4, or it is later. But if I sleep at 4, go to sleep at 4 a.m, then I sleep till like midday. Or if I don't go to sleep till 9, then I'm sleeping like 3 till 3 or something. So it's like, do you know what I mean? I'm still getting my 7 or 8 hours sleep a night, which is refreshed sleep, because it's a time when I feel happy to sleep and comfortable feeling to sleep. And I'm doing so much more work. It's like I'm knocking off goals and tasks. It's like every day in my diary. I mean, my mum bought me this great diary for Christmas. I mean, in a way, it's not that much different to other diaries, but it is because it just looks nicer. You know, the cover is more like a notebook, and in the back it actually has a notebook. Like, part of it's got like 25 pages times 2, you know, so it's got about 50 pages either side in the back, and you can write notes down, so I can write ideas for books as I go along. So it's really nice having all in one. So as I'm going through the year, I'm writing, I've got to write this book, I've got to do this, I've got to do that as my like crazy creative ideas, and then I'm writing the practical stuff that I have to get done that day down in the diary. And last year I didn't really use a diary that much, but it wasn't, you know, it was one of those boring, unattractive diaries that's so office based. You know, I'm unconventional, so that was really nice to just get this wonderful diary. And obviously, you know, that's another point. I'm going to lose all the points here, but you know, it's that you can plan your time and your date and your agenda to however you want it to be, because you're a solo artist of life, as I've called it. I love that title, Solo Artist of Life. I think that's beautiful. I made that up myself the other day. I'm like, I put it in my newsletter this week, because I just think, you know, you can dictate your own working pattern, you can dictate your own schedule, like your calendar's your own, your diary's your own, wherever you go's your own. You're owning your life completely, because you got no one. Another benefit is, you know, you've got no obligations to anyone else. That's what I was going to say. No obligations whatsoever to anyone else, because all you're obligated to is yourself. I mean, obviously there's be some people who, you know, if you're single but you're not single as in living on your own, you might feel like you have family obligations to your relatives, your parents, siblings, stuff like that. But in general, being single, you still have less obligations. You're still having less obligations than you would do if you had a partner as well, for example. It allows you to be more spontaneous as well, so that, you know, if you do decide, oh, I want to go on that day trip today, you know, like I fancy, I don't know, going to a war, you know, going to a zoo, or I fancy going to a concert, or I fancy going to a play or a comedy, you know, you can spontaneously just go there. You can just say, all right, I'll just buy a ticket and go on a train, and you've only got yourself to think about. If you've got a partner, you have to think of them. Are they going to stay at home? Are they going to come with you? Are they seeing their mates? What are they doing? What's their plans for the week? You know, if they've got like a romantic dinner, obviously if you're not romantic, if they've got a romantic dinner, or if they've got a, I don't know, they've got a games night that they usually do with you on that night. Do you know what I mean? You can't just like up and leave without saying something, unless you're a very rude, horrible person. You know, you'd have to, you know, you kind of like have to talk to them about it. So you know, you don't have that type of person in the equation when you're single. It is less drama. Even though I'm a romantic person, being single, I know that you have less drama in your life. You know, when I had a partner in the past, it was a lot more dramatic, you know. I mean, obviously I wasn't in good relationships, but in general there's a lot more drama, especially if you are a romantic person, because you have these romantic feelings. But it's more drama when you live with someone, in my opinion. And that's another thing. If you're single and you do live on your own, you've got more freedom. You don't have to, and being single as well, a huge benefit is you don't have to answer to anyone but yourself. You really don't. There's no one else to answer to, is there? Like I said, obviously if you live with parents and family and friends, you might think a bit differently. But, you know, ultimately the buck stops with you. So less heartache and heartbreak. I really do think that. I do think though you can still get heartache and heartbreak as a single person, because obviously if you do find someone attractive, or you want to be in a relationship with them and you rejected, or you know they don't feel the same way about you, then that can be heartache and heartbreak. But then you've stopped yourself getting into a relationship, you know. But I do think in general there's less heartache and heartbreak, because you're not with a person. That person's not impacting your life. Hello, that person's not impacting your life, and so you know you're much better off as a single unit. So you know that I think in general there is less heartache and heartbreak, because you know you just haven't got that emotional pull between you. Maybe you do with some of your friends if you're close to your friends, but yeah, the person I spoke about yesterday, by the way, he's still friends with me, so that's good. You know, because I was talking about yeah, being having no platonic attraction, having a few more feelings for a friend than I should do. And yeah, anyway, so that's all good now. all your love is for you as well. This is so important. So as a single person, you know, like you're much more able to be loving towards yourself. When you're in a relationship with someone, you're kind of like thinking of them a lot. You're using a lot of your energy to kind of please them, make them happy. You know, even if you're not doing it consciously, you do it subconsciously, because when you're in a partnership, you kind of want to keep them happy. You don't want to lose them. You kind of like want to keep them. So, you know, unless you're an abusive, manipulative person, obviously. But if you're if you're a nice, kind, caring person, in general, you want to make them happy. So, you know, you kind of like, you know, your love and your energy and your time is spread on that person more. Whereas when you're single, your love, energy and time is more for you. And that's a really positive benefit. You don't have to share your stuff. Now, you could call this a selfish one, or you could just see it as, well, yeah, that's true. You know, you don't have to share your stuff. You know, like if you want to have a whole bag of popcorn to yourself, you can have a whole bag of popcorn to yourself. Of course, you can do that if you're not single as well, because you can just be you and say, hey, have your own bag of popcorn, I'll have mine. But a lot of people don't do that, you know, but you don't have to share your stuff. You know, you don't even have to share your home, your cutlery, your bed. You don't have to share any of that stuff. Do you know what I mean? You've got it like all for you, and you can. One thing I haven't written down is you can have your home exactly as you like it. Your home environment, that is so important. Your environment, you know, affects you, and whatever your environment is. But when you're single, you know, if you're in your own, you know, even if you haven't totally moved out of home, you can normally have a little bit more say in your bedroom. But obviously, ideally, you want to not be living at home as a single person. You want to be responsible for yourself. Heather, toothbrush. Oh yeah, you don't have to share a toothbrush. I don't share toothbrushes anyway. I would have to buy one for the other person. Well, nowadays I tell them to bring their own. But, you know, if I've got a pack of 4 toothbrushes that cost £1, then I'll probably give them one when they're staying over. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind doing that. But I have limits. But yeah, so actually, what was it? Oh yeah, the heterosexual guy I dated last year for 2 years. I think I gave him a toothbrush. I bought some new ones. I think I gave him one actually. But yeah, you don't have to share you don't have to share anything. You don't have to share, obviously, if you live on your own as well. You don't have to share your kitchen with someone. If you've got a self-contained flat like I have, you don't have to share your toilet or your bath. And that means in the morning, you don't have to wait for someone else to go to the toilet or go in the shower and think, oh God, I've got to wait for them for half an hour to get out of it. You can just go in there for as long as you want. I have showers often for 40 minutes because I find that shower very therapeutic. So I don't go in there just for wash quickly out. I kind of like, I mean, I have to have aqueous cream anyway because I can't use normal stuff. And so I have to bathe that. I shave my arms and legs every day in the shower. It's just the way I am. My mum thinks I'm crazy, but I don't care. I like baby soft skin because, you know, like younger guys, I like smooth baby skin, you know? I'm very lucky. Look at that. Baby skin. I got nice skin. I do appreciate my skin. So I'll spend like 40 minutes, but sometimes I just sit there, you know, put the shower head on, put it on my neck and just totally be at peace, you know, and chill out. But obviously if you've got a partner that lives with you, they might be like rummaging around in drawers, watching the television with football on, you know, and you're trying to have a shower and chill out. They might be like, honey, how long are you going to be in the shower? And if the shower's combined with the toilet, which thank God mine isn't here, but if it is, you know, it's like they might want the toilet and that means you've got to hurry out the shower. So it's really good, like, you know, that's the benefit of being single and living on your own as well. Obviously, if you live with someone, luckily my parents, they've got 2 toilets. They've got one downstairs and one upstairs in the place where they live now, which they're, you know, that's their permanent forever home now. So I'm quite lucky when I go over there that, you know, I can just go to either toilet. But obviously when I'm upstairs, they've got one toilet upstairs, one down, and I usually go to the same one as them. But it's nice that they've got 2 toilets because I need to go quite a lot, actually, more than an average person would do usually. So what else have I put? Let's see. Oh, yes. I was talking about self-dating earlier, wasn't I? Yeah, you can go on self-dates and you can go on far more of them without feeling guilty that you're leaving someone out. So obviously if you're with a partner, you kind of want to include them in things because you don't want to leave them out. Well, if you're a nice person, you kind of would think that sometimes, you know. You might not think it all the time because you might appreciate your separate things and you should keep separate things as well. But you might feel like if they wanted to see a film and so did you, then it's like, well, why don't you go to see it together? But, you know, you might just need extra time on your own. Now, you know, when my hyper-romanticism sets in, which does actually set in mostly, I think, because I haven't got a partner. Like, if I had a partner, I would be spending a lot more of that love and romance energy on them, I think. Do you know what I mean? But actually can be dangerous. So actually, the benefit of staying single is I can get all the love and romance with myself, which is more healthier, I actually think. But, you know, you can go on self-dates. So self-date is when you purposely take yourself out somewhere. It's the intention that you set. So I have set on my diary for tomorrow, 10 a.m, that I'm going to Kids Club to watch The Grinch, you know, like the Christmas movie, which I didn't see before Christmas. But it's £2.50, well, £2.49 in the UK, this is, Kids Club. Because you don't have to be a kid or even have a kid to go to Kids Club. People don't realise that, and that film was like full price at the major, you know, the main screen. So that would be anything from like £6 up to like about 10 quid or more. Do you know what I mean? I'm paying like £2.49 because when it comes off the big screen, it goes on to something called Mini Mornings in the UK, which is Kids Club. And usually I laugh more than the kids. So the kids are in there, they're more serious than me, and I'm there going, ha ha! It's really funny. And so 10 a.m, so I've got to get up early for myself tomorrow because I've got a date with myself. So I have to get up at 7 o'clock, no, 7:30. I think it's well, I have to be out the door for 9:30 to get there for 10 when it starts because you know, that's when the trailers start. There's not many trailers on kids' films, so I either have to get up at 7 or 7:30. I might be able to get away with 7:30. But I have to be out the door for 9:30, no later, because it takes me at least 25 minutes to walk there, and I don't want to miss it. So yeah, it's early for me because, like I said, I'm an out owl, so it's in my diary. And I went in there yesterday to find out, you know, exactly if it was definitely on, because it said it on my phone when I googled it. And is it definitely? How much is it? Is it all right to come? 10 a.m. Yeah, good. So yeah, I've got a date with myself tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to that because my hyper-romanticism does affect me quite badly sometimes, especially when I've been like feeling a little bit more than friendship for a friend, as in yesterday's episode, and it gets a bit much. And by self-dating, which is one of the reasons why it's really good to be single, is when you self-date, you reconnect with your soul. So when we're in our daily lives, yeah, we have a lot of different things come into our lives. We have TV programs. I don't watch them though. But, you know, we have, like, people on the internet. We have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn or whatever. We have, you know, if you're in forums, blogs, you know, we have all this media and all these people coming in. And then we message our friends and stuff. But then we've got other people messaging us, probably strangers we don't even know. And when you're in the city, you know, you know, you can feel alive with people around you, or you can just feel like you need to get away. And all the outside influences, so anyone that's external from yourself, you know, what can happen over a period of time is you can kind of like start losing yourself, which I'm going to come on to, is another really good reason why you should stay single. Because when you're in a relationship, I ultimately believe that a lot of the time you do lose yourself, and you can lose your whole identity being in a relationship. You can very much lose a part of who you are. So that's a really amazingly positive reason to definitely stay single. That is a thing I never ever want again. I lost my whole identity years ago. I didn't really know who the hell I was. I knew I was Sandra Bellamy, but I didn't know who I was in my heart and core being. I'm really connected to myself now, but I'm more distant from myself at the moment than I should be, because I've had a bit more feelings for this friend, and I've been a bit upset about that. And you know, I kind of need time out, because if I'm connected to so many people, you lose connection with yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. Or I do anyway. And I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people go along in life. Well, I know they do. Like, you can have conscious and subconscious thoughts, right? Most people in life, they go through thinking kind of like just their conscious thoughts rather than paying attention to their subconscious. So I've always lived a life since being a very, very small child at school. I've always lived in my head. So I talk to myself a lot of the time. I analyse things all the time, and I analyse what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and that kind of takes me into my subconscious a lot. So, which can be hard in some ways, but in actual fact, it's good to be consciously aware of things. And by being consciously aware of things, it's actually your subconscious that you get to know. And sometimes it can be hard though, because you can give yourself a hard time. Like today I was saying, oh, you know, you're not doing this good enough, or, you know, you need to improve on this, you know, because like I have got weaknesses, you know, everyone's got weaknesses. I'm very aware of mine, you know. And I think when you do live that sort of conscious life, you become very, very, if you're really honest with yourself, you become very aware of your own weaknesses and strengths. Now the weaknesses, you either have to try and change them, improve them, or accept them. But sometimes it's very difficult because you can battle between like accepting them and wanting them to change because you're not thinking they're great for you. But you just have to let yourself be sometimes. You can't criticize yourself all the time. Otherwise, you know, you're not being good and self-loving. So when you're single, not only the benefit is of self-dating, which I said, you know, you get to spend time with yourself, you reconnect with your soul and your being, and you can switch off from the outside world. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's really good. Like, I love going to the cinema on self-dates. The reason is because I switch off from the outside world. I switch my phone off. It's just me and me having a fun time, and the screen, which the screen feels so magical. I can't describe how I feel going into a cinema screen. It's almost like I've got Disneyland Paris on my doorstep, being in a cinema to me. I can't explain it. It's just this magical, wonderful, awesome feeling. And when I walk in there, I kind of feel like I'm in Hollywood itself. It's just like a show busy, magical thing. And I guess it's kind of like because you're, you know, because imagination comes to life, and I'm a writer as well. I kind of like, it fuels that creativity in me. It fuels that imagination. It fuels that unicorn stuff. And I'm so quirky and unconventional. I don't like looking at the world. Well, I just can't look at the world in a normal way that other people do. I don't want to. And I kind of live on my world of quirky, as I call it. And actually, if I spend too much time outside my world into the normal world, I just get bored, and it's like, it's not me. It's like, God, you've got to get back home. And because I love my flat here. I absolutely adore my flat here. It's like my world of quirky. It's just so wonderful. I've actually owned that website, by the way. It's just in case you're wondering why I keep saying it. I made worldofquirky.com. It's one of my brands. I haven't really developed it to sell anything though, but it's kind of like just what I go under for all my quirky brands, because I'm known online as quirky as well as asexualized. So yeah, you know, it's just amazing being single, actually. And it's amazing when you can get to be your true self and you can really connect with your soul. But that's why I love the cinema. It just disconnects me, and it's like I need to disconnect from other people sometimes. I need to be me. I need to just say no. That's it. Because some people can give you negative vibes. Some people can just make me feel hyper romantic, which is an issue that I've got of myself. It's a weakness sometimes. But however, I have to deal with that weakness. I can't not be honest with it, and I can't, you know, I have to manage it. So if you can't change something, you have to kind of like, you have to like minimize it. You have to manage it. Like people who've got mental health conditions, right? A lot of society will try and stop them being that way. And actually, I used to work helping people with mental health difficulties. I used to be a teacher, trainer for the recovery learning community. I used to help people recover from mental ill health using social media. So through blogging was my best course, and it changed a couple of people's lives doing that. I've been blogging for over 8 years, and I there's nothing like it. It did change my life. It helped me find my voice in a time that I was it felt very out of control. It allowed me to have a little bit of control of something, which is my own blog, my own space, and I loved it, and I love every minute of it. So I used to teach people with ill health that, but for a recovery learning community, we were all about helping people manage their mental health, not telling them they have to stop being mentally ill, not telling them they have to change, but just helping them to manage it and their own self-care. And I really think that is the way forward. And I really believe that's the best way. And so part of self-dating is kind of like switching off from the outside world and being good for your own mental health. You know, I know that hyperromanticism is an issue for me, and so I have to manage that and deal with it. And I know I'm a little bit like, I'm a tiny bit disconnected from my soul at the moment, because when I have hyperromantic feelings for a guy, it takes some of my energy and takes some of my it makes it a bit painful for me. And it's kind of like, there's me over here and I'm here and this guy's here, and I need to get back to being me there. Because when I'm back to being me there, I don't get so romantically hyper over him. Do you see what I mean? Because I'm back connected. So I'm still very much in tune. I'm a little bit distant, but I know when I go on a self-date tomorrow that I will be emotion. Thanks, Heather. I know I'll be, you know, yeah, it's better for my emotions. I'll be more emotionally, I guess, well, I'll be more emotionally connected to myself again. I'll be happier. You know, so it's really good for me to self-date. You know, as a single person, it's really hard when you haven't got someone in your romantic, because you kind of like, you know, like with me, I've got all this love to give someone that I've got no specific one person to give it to. So, you know, when you are single as well, that's another benefit, is you can give your love to whoever you want. You can use it all for yourself, which is a benefit of being single. You can, you know, especially the time you're on your own, if you're sat there at home on your own, you can just give all your love to you. You don't need to worry about anyone else at all. If you're single and you're in your room and there's no one else there, you can just give all your love in that moment to yourself. You don't need to worry about anyone else. But if you've got a partner and they're in the same room as you, or you're going to sleep with them, then, you know, you're kind of like, you're kind of taking yourself away a bit. This is why actually I'm really not sure if it'd be good for me to be in a relationship. You know, I do want one in some ways, but I'm very, very much better on my own a lot of the time. I'm very much better. I can't live a normal life either. If anyone tries to normalise me, I hate it. So, you know, like I said, one of the benefits of being single is you can be as quirky and unconventional as you want. And like I say, I work through the night and then I can sleep in the day. And that works really well. I can get tons done. And obviously, if you are single, that's another thing, is you can spend more time on your own projects, on your own hobbies, on your own interests. And so, you know, the time you'd be spending with your partner, you can actually spend doing more creative and productive stuff that might benefit your future more, or might just make you feel a heck of a lot better. So say your guy comes in, he goes, "Oh, hi, hun, can you put my food in the oven?" Which I hate guys saying that. Don't even bother going there with me, because I'm not going to do that. And I don't want you even in my home. But say he's like, "Oh, hi, hun, can you put the food on?" And then it's like, "Oh, I'm taking," you know, he's taking a shower. It's like, you've had a hard day at work too, but it doesn't matter about you, does it? No. So yeah, so you know, you put the food on if you're that type of person that wants to do that, and will do that for them. And then, you know, and then he's like, "Oh, right, now I'm eating the food," and like either he decides he wants to read the paper or watch sport all night, and you're just bored rigid, you know? And it's like, well, what do you do? And you could get, you know, if you've got a separate room, you can go to a separate room. It's kind of like you're not really spending time with that person, quality time. So it's like, what's the point of even being with someone if you're just gonna like, you know, if you're going to live completely separate lives like that, what's the point? You know, if you're going to be with someone, try and get someone who's got some similar interest to you. I mean, it's good to have some time apart doing your own things anyway. But just imagine if you know, if you want to do something and they're in the room that you need to do it in. You know, it's just like, you know, like I live in a studio flat. This is my room where I pretty much do everything in my work and my sleep. If I had a guy here, right? I had a Bangladesh guy. I think I've told you this. I was with him in a 3-week relationship because he cheated on me in 3 weeks, right, with another girl. And so, because I didn't want sex with him, okay? So, you know, 3 weeks he was here. He was coming and staying over my place in my bed, right? And I was on the computer doing work to the AA house, and he was complaining and being angry with me, which isn't a good sign anyway, because it's quite abusive, you know? But he was like, "Oh, I'm trying to sleep and you're doing that, and the light's keeping me awake." And I can kind of understand it in part, because obviously he wanted to get some sleep. He was working in his restaurant, or the restaurant, not his restaurant. But, you know, I can kind of understand it in a part. It seems fair if you look at it logically, that he's got to get sleep, that it's not good for the light to be on and all that lot. But in terms of, for me, it's like it can be feeling abusive to me, because it's like you're stopping me from doing you're stopping me from doing stuff that makes me who I really am. You're like caging me up saying I can't do this because you want this. So it's very difficult when you're in a relationship like that. If your home situation isn't ideal, like, you know, not everyone's got a house that's got 2 separate rooms where you can do all your own stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like 2 separate bedrooms. And then even if you do have separate bedrooms, then your other half can be like, well, we never sleep together, so what's the point? You know what I mean? And it can cause a lot of issues. So, you know, it's like I said at the beginning of this video, it's far less drama if you're just single, because you only have yourself to look after. You can do what you like. You can be spontaneous as you want. You don't have to be obligated to anyone in that way. You know, it's a much more freer life. Obviously, I've gone way over the 15 already, you know, but being single is much more freer life. You've got far more freedom. Let me see what else I've got on my little note. Oh yeah, so for example, one of the things I love about being single when I do go on my self date is films I go to watch. I love watching all the credits, right? All the credits, the very end, till the screen goes completely black, and the curtain goes up, right? When I was in a relationship, they weren't having a bar of it. You know, they hated that. They're like, come on, I want to go. I don't want to sit and watch this. And so, you know, you really have, like I said, much more freedom. You can watch the credits of the film yourself and you have no complaints, and that's a major thing. Being single, you have far less complaints in your life because you love your life, presumably, or you've got to change it to make sure you do, because you're in control of it. When you're single, you're in ultimate control of it, and that to some people scares the heck out of them. Some people don't like being single because they are completely responsible for themselves, and they will try whatever they can to put in their mind that everything else is controlling them, like their complete life. Like, I do get affected by people, I'm not going to lie to you, but I'm also know that I'm completely responsible for my own life, that I'm responsible for the money I bring in to pay for my place, that I'm responsible for looking after myself and feeding myself, clothing myself, that I'm responsible for wherever I want to go, you know, whatever I want to do. I'm completely and utterly I live on my own. I'm completely and utterly responsible for myself. If I had no friends or everyone left my life, you know, who's responsible for me? Me, no one else. Do you know what I mean? It's like I can't go back and live with my parents because we don't have that type of relationship. So I'm literally on my own. So it's just like, you know, it's just like you're totally responsible. And sometimes people hate that. That's why they want a relationship, because they're like, oh, you know, we can share the responsibility of household bills and rent and stuff. But it also means you're very much attached to that person financially, and if anything happens and you don't get on anymore, it's harder to leave. So this is another thing I'm coming on to as well. A major thing about being single is you can avoid being in abusive relationships, especially sustained abusive relationships. Now, just because you're not in a relationship does not mean to say you can't be in other abusive relationships, i.e. you could be in a family home where your parents are abusive, or, you know, you could live with your aunt or uncle or grandma and they could be abusive. You could live with a brother or sister, they could be abusive. You could have housemates that are abusive. You could just be a tenant in a house where people are smacking each other. I've been in the past some really bad houses where there's been people upstairs or downstairs smashing the heck out of each other, and I never want that life again. That's why I love the flat I live now. It's all like, it's like a family home, and working people in here, all adults, all grown-ups, responsible, caring people. Not that, you know, I've been years ago, I was in a place where the guy downstairs beat his wife. I've been in a place where the guy upstairs was trying to beat his girlfriend, and the girlfriend's trying to jump out on the roof. And, you know, it was when I was with my bad exes, I have to say, you know, that I went in some really bad places that I wouldn't wish on anyone. You know, it really opened my eyes. I came from a very innocent countryside background, very naive, and I went to city centre when I'd only been there like 3 times before. It was actually in Exeter, and it's like, God, my experience completely changed, you know, being around these people. It was dreadful. You know, your heart pounds, you're living on knife edge all the time. It's horrible. And so you can really avoid, like, when you're single, you can really obviously, you know, avoid being in an abusive relationship. You can, you know, but like I said, there are other relationships, not just of the being in relationship type, whether that's platonic or romantic. You know, you've still got other relationships you could end up having abusers, you know. And sadly, a lot of the time when you are in abusive relationships or been in abusive relationships, you tend to be in other ones, which can mean that even if you're not in a relationship at the moment, if you've got certain friends, they could be abusers. It's because it's hard for you as a person to get out of that pattern. I've done a specific pattern changing course, which was a 12-week professional course by the NHS over in the UK. And that's to notice the patterns of abusive people and potentially abusive relationships to make sure I don't get in them again. And so that's why I know a lot about people. And it's hard though, because obviously I've got the old patterns from the past where I didn't recognize that, and now I do. But you know, sometimes it's like, sometimes in your mind you're not, you know, you know they're abusive, but sometimes in your mind you're like, you know, you've got the old patterns, so you're like but you know, I can still come across abusers, but usually I get rid of them out of my life far quicker now than I did in the past. You know, I'll cotton on to them very quickly. It's like there's a guy I met on ASAP the other day, but that's for another story. But yeah, his behaviour very quick that I found out it's not good. But I will come on, that's another video, I've got that planned. So yeah, so it's really important that, you know, like I've been free of an abusive relationship now since 2011. November the 5th, 2011. I think it was like something in the morning. Was it 2 something in the morning? 2:30 something, or 2:32 a.m. or something in the morning? I don't know. The key swang in the lock and there he was, gone. Oh, he tried to come back and tried to slash his wrists, but, you know, I wasn't having it this time. And he only really perforated the skin. He didn't really do any damage because he just wanted to blackmail me to get him to come back. But luckily it didn't last very long, only, you know, a few months of, you know, stuff, and then he was gone for good. I mean, he's still in the city, so I've got to be careful because I have to stay away from him because he's dangerous for me, not other people, but for me. And so, you know, but I'm away from that, you know, and I've been free of that for over 7 years. And I have to say, I never ever want to go back to that. I will remain single for the rest of my life happily than ever be in a relationship like that again. I didn't even know how to get out of it. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. I got out of it once and then ended up going back again. It's just horrible. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So the benefit of being single is you can avoid being in a relationship that's abusive. Doesn't mean to say you're not going to be having relationships with other people that are not abusive. So obviously you've got to watch out for that yourself. But it's a lot easier. Like, you're totally financially independent as well, or you should be if you're single. Obviously, if you're still living at home with parents and you're relying on them for money, that's not really very good. But, you know, if you are, you are. And obviously, if you're single and relying on your parents' money, that can be quite good in the sense that, you know, you've not got the financial responsibility that some people would have if they had a partner, you know. So maybe you're living at home with mum or dad. Maybe it's rent-free, or maybe it's very cheap rent. Whereas if you had a partner, you'd be paying the full whack of half the rent at least, and have other household bills. Maybe you just pay 50 quid a week to your parents. So obviously that's good from that point of view. From my point of view, all the responsibility is on me for household bills and for looking after myself financially. But I like that. I don't want to have joint bills or bank accounts. I hated that in the past. I don't want that ever again. I don't like it. Most people don't, because I was financially dependent then on a person. That was harder to leave an abusive relationship because I was financially stuck with them. You know, especially the first guy used to pay more than me. The second guy, for a long time, he used to be part-time and I used to pay more for him and look after him financially. So, which was the last long-term guy I was with, but that was in the beginning. Then he got his own money. But, so it was different then, but I was still had the bills in my name, and it was very difficult when I left because, you know, it's kind of like, he was supposed to pay me half stuff, but the bills were in my name, so I got lumbered with them, and then I had to go through certain processes of trying to get out of it. That's why I don't want that again. I don't want to. I don't want to share household bills. I don't even want to share food bills. I like having my own budget and for my food. I like having my own place and living separately. I like the person to go cook and clean for themselves in their own place. Bring food with them to my place. If they want to cook it and clean up after them, that's fine. But I like separate lives like that. I don't want that I have in the past. And not many people is going to want to be in a relationship with me when I have that attitude and mindset. But it's what's good for me. I can't, like, the years in my past life, I just feel I wasted so many years because Whereas people like doing that type of thing because they think it's coupley. I don't. I just see it as a complete waste of my life. Like, if I'm building a website, right, I'm happy. If I'm designing a t-shirt, I'm happy. If I'm doing newsletters, I'm happy. If I'm blogging or doing this YouTube channel, I'm happy. If I'm trying to cook in there for like me and someone else, and then they're wanting they eat different foods to me because I've got so many food allergies, so it's good for me to just really cook for myself, even though I don't like cooking. And I don't have any plates that I use usually. I've got them in the cupboard, but I use paper plates. £1 for 50 a month. Chuck the paper plates away. You know, halves my washing up. You know, I don't want to be in there having a pot and a pan to wash up, having the oven dirty with maybe food I don't even like. I don't like the smell of red meat. I don't eat pork, lamb or beef. I can't stand the smell of red meat. It makes me feel physically sick. Obviously, I've got to accept the people downstairs have that sometimes. I've kind of got a bit more used to the smell, but it's quite far away from me. But I don't like that. I don't actually want to have someone who eats red meat in my home. I don't want that cooked in my home. I don't want him cooking pork or beef or lamb. It just makes me feel sick. If he wants that in his own place, fine. Don't cook it in mine, you know? Because I'm very, like, I see my flat as my holy temple of environmental life, you know? If there's something in this environment that I don't feel comfortable with, I feel like it's not my own and it's not my home, and I feel like invaded, and it, you know, it's like, get out of it, you know. In my head it's not comfortable, and unlike a lot of people that want to give and want to do cooking for people, I don't. I hate cooking. It makes me feel like miserable. So I do just cook what I need to for me, and I'm okay with that because, you know, I cut down on my washing up and I have to eat, and I like the foods I cook for myself because it doesn't make me allergic and have tummy pain and headache and feel sick, you know. So I don't want to be washing up loads of stuff. So I don't want a guy to come into my home and basically make me end up spending 2 hours in the kitchen. Because I don't want to waste my life. I don't want that last 30 minutes to have been washing up 2 pans and a grill pan. Why do I need to waste my life doing that? Why? I don't have a grill pan. I just use like tin foil things and chuck them in the bin. All those paper things, paper cake liners, the big ones, and I put my food in that with a bit of tin foil. Put my fish in there tonight, I did. Potatoes, I just cut them up, put them in there, and I just put lemon, squeezed lemon on the fish, put some black pepper on the fish, put black pepper all over the potatoes, you know, like sprinkled it on, shoved it in the oven. The potatoes come out brown anyway. They soak up the oil from the fish, so you don't even need to put any oil. Even when I haven't got oily fish, I still just cook potatoes like that. They're dry and crispy and a bit brown anyway, you know, and I like them. It's roast potatoes. It's good, but you don't have to faff around with any cooking oil or any rubbish like that. And you just chuck the packaging stuff that you had in the oven in the bin. I haven't used an oven grill for God knows how long now. Is it best part of a year? I don't do that anymore. I don't have pans. I have raw vegetables now. Better, more healthy for me. So all the things I wash up is cutlery and mugs and bowls. That's it. I don't do anything else. So, you know, obviously I might need to you know, clean my oven out every now and again, but it's a Belling. It's a, you know, like a camping one. It's not a huge one. And a microwave, you know, I might need to do that occasionally, but I don't really put that much in the microwave. And if I do, it's not really that much stuff that spills. I don't put spilly stuff in there. So, you know, this is how I can cut down my life. But if I had a guy, do you know what I mean? I really see a guy that if I lived with him, it'd be a nightmare for me because I'd be doing stuff that I'd resent. I would damn well resent it. And we're not supposed to, are we, in life? We're supposed to be happy doing and giving all the time to our loved ones. That's what we're supposed to be happy doing. I don't mind giving my loved one affection. I don't mind giving him emotional support. I don't mind supporting him in his work and egging him on and saying, good job, you know, come on, you can do it. You know, I believe in you. I trust you. You're doing great, you know. I love your work. You're doing fantastic, you know, and sharing like dates with each other. So when we go out, you know, I have no washing up to do because I'm paying for food out. They're paying for food out. I mean, obviously the problem with a relationship, you can't eat out all the time. But when you're single, obviously you don't then have to have the burden of another person's budget, you know, like you like eating into yours, like another person coming and eating into your food budget. which is why I like to maintain my single status, even if I'm in a relationship. Like, not maintain single status as in be single, and I would still put I'm in a relationship, but maintain like the status of being single in terms of my flat here. You know, I don't want to be seen in a relationship with, I can't have anyone in my flat anyway. It's for a single person, single tenants only, and I could only ever have someone staying over at weekends or a couple of nights a week. That's the landlord's rules, so it suits me fine. But you know, it's just like, I don't want that. It would make me miserable. What is the point in me trying to push and force myself to be something I'm not, to just fit what society wants? Because, you know, it makes me feel a bit bad sometimes. It does make me feel a little bit bad. Like, I think, oh God, you know, I'm not fitting in the sense that, you know, people will come over and think, God, you're making your guy bring his own food and cook it himself. How could you do that? That's really uncaring. It's kind of like a voice I have in my head of how someone outside would look at it. But when I look at it from my own heart and my own soul, it's like, why would you want to waste your life doing that? Why? He's a guy that you care about and love, but you're not his mother. And just because you love him doesn't mean to say you have to wash up after him and cook and clean for him, because that's not actually love. That's just practical things you may choose to do for someone or not do for them. Do you know what I mean? Like, if my guy was really sick, genuine, because I've had guys in the past that try and just fake it because they want attention or abuse their power, basically. But, you know, if I had a guy who I was with in a relationship and he's genuinely sick, then yes, I'd go and do some shopping for him, food shopping, and I'd take it round to his place for him. You know, and if he really couldn't cook for himself, then I might get some, I don't know, stuff to put in the microwave for him. You know, the ones that meals that you can chuck away, so still I don't have to wash up. But, you know, because I'm really not interested in that, but I would work something out, you know, temporarily, you know, while he was sick. But I mean, I usually look after myself when I'm sick. Occasionally my parents did, like when I was really ill last year with my foot because someone fell on my foot when I was at a nightclub, my parents did a massive shop for me, the first time ever, such a massive shop. Went out and got a load of stuff, paid for it, and then brought it around to mine. That's not usually what they do for me, but it made the whole world of difference. But I was on my own after that, like before and afterwards. They didn't stay, they didn't cook or anything like that for me. But they did my shopping for me, which was amazing. And they paid for it. They didn't expect any money back, which, you know, I didn't ask them to do that, but my dad paid for it. And I was like, I got about nearly 2 or 3 weeks worth of, you know, like, food in the cupboard rather than one. And I was just amazed. And I was blown away. And I thought how nice that is, you know. So, you know, that was really nice of them. But then they left, you know. So I have to still hobble around on my own. I have to still try and get to the toilet with one foot, you know, and I still have to look after myself here. I'm used to doing that, you know. So I just think, you know, being single, it does give you the ultimate responsibility of yourself. And in that way, you can connect to your inner being far more because you're really at one with who you are. Because you have to take care of you. It's like you end up being like the mother to yourself, the father to yourself, as well as being a child still. Because you kind of play the roles of all the people. In my case, mostly I play the roles of the girl and the dad. I kind of play the role of the man and the girl. I don't really play the role of the woman so much. I learnt this in counselling, that everyone's got like the father, the mother, and the child in them. And I kind of, throughout my life, I'm usually the girl, like the teenager girl, or I'm usually the guy, like the father figure in my own life type. I've got my dad, my, you know, actual real dad. But with inside you, you know, when I went to counselling, they said, the counsellor told me this, you know, so you play these different roles with yourself, you know, like if you're like, you know, like if you're on your own and single, you have to look after yourself. So you have to either bring out the dad side or the mum side to you, you know, like the parent side, because you have to parent yourself. You've got no one else to parent you. Obviously, when you're grown up, you haven't got your parents, unless you live with your parents still, they're not actually physically around you. I'm fortunate enough to still have mine alive. I hope I will for many years to come. Touch my wood. Sorry, a bit superstitious. But touch the wood of a pencil. There we go. It's a superstition. If you touch wood, it's supposed to be good. So, you know, because some people haven't got that. But, you know, it's really important that you be a parent to yourself when you're single, you know, because you have to be. if you're not being a parent to yourself, you're really going into like a depression where you're not looking after yourself. This is why some people get depressed, because they don't want to be responsible for themselves. They think everything in the world's bad. I used to be that type of person. This is how I know. It's only kind of like, well, you know, I used to think a lot of it was the external world. I still think some of it is the external world. I still think it impacts and influences us and it affects us, but we're supposed to not let it affect us. But it does. It's the truth. So I don't think it's all us. Don't get me wrong. I don't, you know, like, not like most people say, oh, it's got, you know, nothing to do. Of course it does. But we have to try and change how we react to it in ourselves. So if someone's being really bad and rude to us or horrible, we have to try and think that it's their problem. It's not always easy to do that because I'm a very sensitive girl. And, you know, so when I'm here, I have to be like a coach to myself, you know. So I don't know if you know what a coach is, like a bit like a sports coach, but you're a coach of your life. So you have to kind of tell yourself what to do and how best to do things. This is how I lead my life as a single person. I'm constantly talking in my head to myself, saying what I've got to do, saying what I did well at, what I didn't do so well at. You know, it's like self-assessment constantly. And I think you have a lot more time to do that as a single person. You have a lot more time to self-reflect, to self-assess, to analyse, and to improve yourself. Because I think when you're in a relationship, you kind of get a little bit so comfortable in that relationship, so comfortable as thinking of as a couple rather than thinking of yourself, that you kind of lose that ability to look after yourself as much, because your emotions get more tied up in the other person and their life, if you understand what I mean. So as a single unit, an entity, you can like look after yourself on a lot more deeper level, and you can actually help yourself get out of depression. It's hard, but you can do it if you think that you're responsible for yourself. And if you think you're responsible for yourself and you're thinking like, I'm really depressed, but why am I depressed if I'm responsible for myself? Because I'm the one causing my depression, because I must be, because I'm the only one who's around myself all the time. Therefore, what am I going to do about it? It means I have to try and do something about it, because if I don't, and I've got to spend the rest of my life with me, then who else is going to change it but me? And then you come to the realization that, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, I need to sort my life out. So, yeah, but it's only when most people don't have that revelation very often, especially a depressed person. Like I said, I used to be depressed, so I really get it. I didn't look at it, but it's because I didn't feel good about myself, about anything to do with myself in the past, really. I didn't appreciate myself. I didn't think I had any skills or anything to offer the world. I'm completely different now. I went to business seminar in 2012 and my mindset changed like that. You know, I just realised, I heard all these business people. I'm like, my God, I really realised all the skills and qualities I had and experience and knowledge that, because they were sharing their knowledge, these expert speakers on stage. I'm like, I know a lot of stuff, because I could really relate to what they were saying. It's like, I'm quite advanced for my years. I know what I'm talking about. I'm really experienced. And it's like they brought all these qualities out in myself just by being around people that were more like me, which I hadn't met before. Entrepreneurs and people that think differently outside the box. It was just really good. So I just want to see if there's anything else. So yeah, all right. So basically, I've pretty much touched on these, because I said not about you know, you know, you don't lose, you know, there's a danger of losing your own identity if you are with someone else, which I've pretty much covered, I think. But I think you get it. Like, when you're in a relationship, you make decisions usually as a collective unit, and therefore you can kind of compromise yourself for decisions. You can kind of do things that you wouldn't usually do or be so comfortable with. And sometimes you might think that's good, and in a way it's good because it shows your flexibility, but really you're not living completely 100% your true life. Like, for example, I've got a best female friend, right? And she showed me what real friendship is all about. And I love her to bits for that. I do compromise myself for her, which I don't usually do for people. And the way, it's not like compromise majorly like most people think, but I do, because I go to pubs with her. I'm a person who prefers nightclubs. I'm a person who loves to dance. She's a singer. I'm a dancer. But I will go to her to pubs, and she does karaoke. I can't sing. I can dance well, but not sing. So I go there for her benefit. If I wasn't friends with her, I wouldn't be going, because it's not really my scene. But obviously, because I live in a very conscious state about myself, especially because I spend so much time on my own, I'm very aware that when I'm in that environment, it's not 100% me, because I wouldn't be there in that environment if it wasn't for her. I wouldn't be around those people. They're not bad people, but I wouldn't be in that environment because that environment feels a bit old to me. I have to keep telling you that I was very old before my time years ago. So the kind of things she does, like with going to karaoke, that's something I did when I was like, you know, like, I don't know, it's like kind of like a disco-y atmosphere. So it's something like I kind of did as a kid, like late teens, but to me, it's like old. To me, clubbing's new and exciting. To me, karaoke's kind of old because it's something I did in my past. Now I'm like a teenager, then I wasn't. So like, it's really weird. It's kind of like I'm backwards. And so when I go there, there is a little part of me that knows it isn't totally me. And that feels weird. But it's kind of like, Sandra, you're your best friend. This is what friendship's about sometimes, compromising stuff. But I've never liked the word compromise because usually someone misses out. Because usually someone's doing something that they don't totally want to do and they're not really into that much, you know? But, you know, to me, it's a compromise that is not really harming me in the sense of physically, it's not harming me. But, you know, I mean, in my own city, I find it better. When I go to her town, the people there are older. Like, they're all so much older. In my city, a lot of them are older as well because, you know, but there are some young people as well. And it's more of a younger environment where I live in the city. She used to live in my city years ago before I knew her, actually. And so, you know, there's a lot of older people in the small town she lives in. And sometimes it just feels like I'm going backwards. It feels like I'm going back to an old me that I didn't like that time in my life. I didn't like that old stuff that I was doing. And that feels really difficult to me. I have to really convince my head that it's fine, it's okay, it's a compromise you can be okay with because you're spending time with your best friend. You love her as a best friend. You know, I've never loved a female best friend like I love her. You know, I don't associate love in any way with a woman, and especially not, you know, like lesbian style. But I've never loved a female friend, if you know what I mean. But I love her as my friend because I care about her so much. I don't want anything to happen to her. And I really will do stuff that I wouldn't usually do for other people with her. It's like in the cinema, sometimes we sit further towards the front than even I would usually do. I usually have C or D. Sometimes she wants to sit in row A. Well, really, that's a bit too close to the screen for me. But I'm like, okay, we'll do it then. You know, and it's kind of like, it's very small compromises that are, you know, I do think it's small in comparison to what a lot of people would do. Yeah, like anal sex or swearing, she doesn't want to, but I make her because I'm independent. I love her. I don't want that type of comment on here. It's disgusting. Do you know what I mean? This is a asexual channel. Thank you, Michael. You know, it's disgusting. So, you know, yeah, it's just like that's me compromising. But even though I'm only compromising a small bit, I can feel myself not being totally me, and that doesn't feel so comfortable to me. Like, I've been times when I've been over to her town and I've been dancing and stuff, and I've just felt like this is an old environment for me. This isn't the environment that I like and comfortable, and it makes me want to go out and go clubbing and be around younger guys and stuff. That's how it instantly makes me feel. It's like, I really need to be around younger people. I mean, my friend is really young for age. She's older than me, like much older. Well, I say much older. In birth certificate age, she's nearly 10 years older than me. So, but she looks much younger. She looks really, really young. And so we've got a lot in common in that way because she doesn't totally act her age, birth certificate age at all. And she's young and vibrant and energetic. We have the most wonderful conversations and we laugh. I never laugh so much unless I'm with her. Do you know what I mean? So she's worth compromising for in the other sort of more smaller things in life. But I'm still very consciously aware of how I feel about myself as a person, how I feel in my being and my soul, because I live a conscious life, not an unconscious life. And so that is hard. So obviously when I'm single, like tomorrow, I'm going on a self date. I can pick what seat I want myself, which I always have an aisle seat, usually on row C or D. And then if there's an aisle, obviously it might just be a whole row of people. And then, you know, I can watch till the credits have gone up if I want. My friend's usually really good like that anyway, she'll stay till the end of the credits, but and then, you know, I can watch a kids movie. So some people would laugh at a kids movie. They're like, why do you want to go and see a kids movie? I love kids movies. It's who I am. You know, there's no sex in it. There's no rubbish in it like that. You know, I hate sex. I can't stand it. I can't stand it in films. I can't stand it on TV. I don't like anything to do with it. It's disgusting to me. I have to keep saying that because this is an asexual channel after all. And more lately, I'm just feeling disgusted by the whole stuff, you know? I think you get me, don't you? Use the sexual imagery everywhere. I just, you know, that's one huge benefit of not watching TV when you live on your own. I don't want to see that rubbish. You know, I don't want to walk in and have a partner in the lounge who's watching it oogling over women half naked. It's like, why would I want that? One, I don't want a guy like that anyway. And two, if he's going to do that, go and do it in your own place. Live separately with me, and if you want to, I don't want a guy who watches porn. I hate that type of thing. But if you're going to do that, go and do it in your own environment. Don't poison my home environment with it. You know, this is my home environment, which is sex-free. It's porn-free. It's sexual imagery-free. It's happiness, love, light, energy, having a great time by myself. I don't need that rubbish in my life. You know, my ex and me, my last long-term ex, didn't live together in the end. And I much suited that, you know, was more suited to that lifestyle, you know. And I think he did look at, well, women and stuff, like, especially music videos where they got hardly anything on. He probably looked at porn as well. And I don't like that. I didn't like him looking at women. But, you know, I'm like, in my head, I was like, if you're going to do that, do it on your own time, in your own place. I don't want to know, you know. I don't want that type of guy anyway, but if I did, that's the only way I can deal with it. I'm like, fine, you have it in your own home environment, don't bring it into mine, you know. I don't watch sport. That's another benefit of being single. If you don't like certain TV programs, you don't have to have them on. You don't have to. You don't have to feel guilty about it. I am a sports-free zone. I cannot stand sport either. You know, I don't like any sport, like football or anything like that. If I had to watch sports, the two I'd watch would be boxing, the really, really big names, the ones that if they smash each other up, they hardly looks like there's any blood on them. I don't actually like fighting. I'm quite against it in general because I don't like the feeling, but especially with the past when I've had people who've been trying to smash their partners up in the past. It's not nice to hear those noises. It's horrible. But when I was living at my parents, the only two sports I could kind of like on a little tiny bit of a level while I had to be there watching that was like the really big name boxing people and motor racing because I like cars. Even though I'm a girl, I love really nice cars and motorbikes I like. That's why I say I've got some male traits, you know. I like a decent car. You know, I don't drive, but I like looking at a decent car, a beautiful car, nice shiny and colours and nice, you know, looking car, beautiful. And motorbikes, I like Yamahas, Kawasaki's to look at, you know, nice bit of machinery. So, yeah, like sometimes when I was younger, I used to think it'd be so much easier if I was a guy, but then I wouldn't want that wobbly bit in between my legs. And I don't, you know, I'm not keen on, I don't like other women's bodies at all, but I don't really want that bit between my legs. But I kind of used to think it'd be easier and better if I was a guy in some ways when I was younger, because I was just like, I didn't particularly think it was good to be a woman in this world, but I'm okay being a girl and a guy. So I'm quite cool about that. All rolled into one. I don't want to change my sports make me sleepy. Yeah, I had that. Oh, it's so boring. If I was gonna have anything to do with sport, I'd play it, but not professionally, just for a laugh. Like I went to a centre parks years ago, Heather. I don't know if you know, there's a centre parks. There's places in the UK. Centre parks are really nice. They are like, well, back then I could cycle. So basically I was with it was my ex before when I was really young, in birth certificate age, and obviously I'm younger now in not birth certificate age, but yeah. So when we went to a centre parks, and my granddad had just died actually, so it's quite a long time ago, and it was kind of nice to get away. He paid for it. We had a jacuzzi in the place. He wasn't a nice guy either. He was abusive too, but never mind. But the place was nice. And it was set it's like set out in the countryside type thing, but you've got all these huts. We were in a hut quite high up with our own jacuzzi inside, But you have to cycle everywhere, so the car gets left in the main car park, and then you cycle everywhere to like shops and to different places. And you have like the centre parks is basically a place where you do all sort of different classes. So it's kind of like a health type place. So you do different dance classes and sports classes, and you can do them just for fun. And so you can play kind of like mess around with different, like, you know, like if you were playing tennis, it would just be basically you hitting a ball backwards and forwards in a room. But they did dance classes as well, from what I remember, and things like that. And you know, you can have a go at different things. And they had like an outdoor jacuzzi that was amazing. It wasn't single, you know, it wasn't just me and him. It was like for all the people. It was like loads of swimming, like outdoor swimming pools. And I can't swim, but I can go in the jacuzzi. And what you did, it was beautiful. And at night, you'd be outside in the jacuzzi with other people. It was a massive, like, swimming pool size. And the rain would just come down on you because it'd be chucking it down with rain, but you'd be underneath the water on your shoulders, and it would be really warm in the jacuzzi because obviously it's heated. And so you're kind of outside. I'm not really a nature person, but this was a bit of nature that was quite nice at the time, especially after my granddad just died. I kind of needed to chill. And so my granddad and grandma played a huge part of my childhood life. I used to spend quite a lot of time with them. So the rain used to come down, you know, and my shoulders were underneath the water. And I was just like, God, this is beautiful. You know, the rain's coming down. I'm out in the open here in the like middle of the forest type thing. And with people around me. So it's kind of like I'm an extrovert. I'm picking some energy up. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's just beautiful. All the rain's coming down, but you're still really warm underneath. And it's just a really amazing experience and feeling. Like, the guy I was with at the time, he used to go in the jacuzzi and then go round the slides. I don't really want to talk about him. I've really blanked him out because he was a long time ago. But yeah, it was just a beautiful place. And in the morning, we had like this villa. It's like known as a villa, I think, from memory. It's like a big hut right high up with like, you know, anyway, you open patio doors and in the morning, and you have the birds come outside your house, because it's like a big, it's like a villa, it's like a hut, but it's called a villa, I think, and it's just like a massive flat, and like, or bungalow. It's bigger than my flat here from what I remember. It was a very long time ago, and I remember the jacuzzi that was paid for extra, you know, it was like because it's like high up one, it's like one of the most expensive. I didn't pay for it, that person I was with did. And yeah, and it was just nice to have patio windows to open, and the ducks would come in the morning, the birds would be singing. It was just beautiful, and I just really, really loved it. I just ended up telling you that because it's just like, because I was saying I don't like sport normally, but I was playing a bit of sport there. But actually, that is the place where I first knew I hated nudity. Right, I have to tell you this, right? So I don't know if I've told you this. I can't remember if I've told you this on this channel, but I will tell you anyway, because it's something that I really feel strongly about, okay? I was writing a blog post about it the other day, which I don't think I've published yet. So that's why it's cropped to mind. So, right, this is when I first knew how much I really, really hated a woman's body and nudity, particularly a woman's body. I can't stand it, right? So I was in a changing room because, you know, you're doing a lot of sporty stuff. And like I said, you go in the jacuzzi and stuff. So I was in a changing room, right? And women in women's changing rooms, for some weird reason, seem to like just walking around, not much clothes on. I don't know. I presume the guys is like that as well. I don't like show my body off to anyone else. I hated it at school. I used to get out of it most of the time. My mum, I used to get sick notes all the time, nearly, to get out of PE and to get out of the showers. It was communal showers. I didn't want other women seeing my body. I mean, I used to be bullied for my weight anyway when I was at school, so that wasn't nice. So I don't really want anyone to see my body anyway. But, you know, I don't want other people seeing my body. Why should I want other women seeing my body? It's mine. It's got nothing to do with them. I hated it. I really hated it. I'm like, why do we have to communal showers? Why? And anyway, so this particular time I went to Centre Parks, which is the only time I've ever been. This woman was in the changing room, right? And she was stood in front of me, stark naked, talking to me. She was just drying her hair with one towel. No towel over any of her body, just her hair, patting her hair dry. And she must have been in her 30s or 40s. And I was like, in my birth certificate age, I would have been in my early 20s. So she was much older than me in birth certificate age, but it was just disgusting to me. She had, like, literally, she's talking to me, and as far as I remember, she was talking about how my state was, how I was finding it there. And she was had her hair to one side, and she was patting it dry with this towel. I think her hair was crinkly. And she's patting it, and she goes, oh, so how are you finding it here, yeah? And she's literally got her boobs completely out, her vagina showing with her pubic hair. And it's just like, oh, it's so disgusting. And I was like trying to look at her face. I was thinking, I'm so uncomfortable. I just don't want to be here. I really don't want to be here. Please, I just want to go. And she was asking me questions. And I was trying to look at her in the eyes and answer her, and I'm just seeing stuff. So out down here, you know, like you've got peripheral vision, haven't you, where you can look at here, and I can see like out here now. So when I was trying to like speak to her here with her eyes, I could still see like her boobs and down there, and it's like I'm trying to keep my eyes up here, and it's like, oh, I just hated it. That experience has stayed with me my whole life. That's how much I detest and can't stand the female naked body unless it's my own in my face. It's like, get it away. I can't stand it. It's disgusting. And I just hate it so much. And I was so glad to get the heck out of there. I felt so uncomfortable. It's one of the most uncomfortable things in my life. I'm like, why do people need to do that? Why do women need to do that? Why do I need to see their body? To them, it's natural. To me, it's disgusting. And I hated it. And I've never, ever forgotten it. Scars of memory. Yeah, but I hate it. Yeah, but it's not normal for the average person to hate something like that. It's not normal. Like, I'm not normal thinking that way. Women, usually other women and people don't go thinking that. Usually women don't go hating it like that. But I do. But yeah, it's just horrible for me. You know, but most other women wouldn't care. They wouldn't even think twice about it. But like you say, it's scarred my memory. It's like really devastating trauma for me seeing that. I hate it. This is why I can't stand being with a guy who looks at that. Because it's like, I detest that. I'm like, how can you look at that? It's just hideous. Don't forget, I respect people's choices. But for me personally, if I'm with a guy in a relationship, I don't want him looking at that. It annoys me. It makes me angry. I hate it. And I know I shouldn't really care because it's up to them what they do. But I do, because it's like, I don't want you looking at that. I think if you're in a relationship, you should only be looking at a person's body who you're with. Or not at all. You know, I wish we had stall. I wish we had stall. What do you mean, like in changing rooms? You wish you had I don't know what stall is. Do you mean you wish you had like separate, like there is separate cubicles in female changing rooms, just that with some women, they choose not to use them and they just use the communal area, you know, the bit where you walk in and out to the toilet cubicles and shower rooms, you know? It's like, obviously when people are showering, sometimes they don't put the curtain around them, you know? It's like when people, you know, like private stalls. I think they're called something else in the UK. Yeah. So they do have private cubicles in the changing rooms, but people don't bother using them a lot of the time. You know, I'll go in a toilet cubicle and get changed rather than a communal. I won't care. I'm not going to shove my body around people. So it's like, God, don't come near me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I have a really attitude towards nudity. It's like, I know that if I wasn't a female, you know, if I'd be like if I had a choice, like, and I wasn't female and I was a bloke, I'd be gay guy. Here we go. It's way too late for me. Okay, Michael, I think I've nearly finished now. Anyway, don't have to consider anyone else in your daily decision making. Yeah. Night, Michael, and love yourself more. Yeah. The last thing I've got is love yourself more. Is that because when you're single, you can spend more time with yourself and you can love yourself more and you can love your life more, because just as it's proved, if there's certain things you hate and detest in your life, you don't have to put up with that, because you've got no one else that you have to worry about. If they like different things to you, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't affect your life, because you're not connected to them and you can choose who you stay connected to. So, but you do have more time and more love for yourself. So all in all, being single seems ideally a lot better than actually being in a relationship, with all the reasons I've given you, which is good, why it's great to be single. Because really, there's huge benefits. I think it's only people like myself who are hugely romantic that have that desire and kind of need to want to be in a romantic relationship because of all the romance stuff that you can't necessarily do quite to the fullest when you're on your own. I can be hugely romantic with myself though, luckily for me. And it's the kissing I miss in a relationship. But, you know, I guess you can get outside of a relationship if you really want. Anyway, yes, Michael says it's way too late for him. So thank you, tune in, Michael. Please give this video a thumbs up before you go. I'm going to sign off now because I've gone and talked a lot. And I think we covered loads in this video about how it's so good to be single. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you are living an awesome life, doing what you want to do, spending time how you want to, self-loving, self-dating, being responsible for yourself, enjoying all your, winnings of life yourself. Oh, and I forgot a major one. Spending more time with family and friends. When you are single, it means you can spend more time with your friends. So I can spend more time with my asexual friends because I've got more time on my hands. And also, I can do these live streams every night without anyone moaning at me. If I was in a relationship, they might be like, oh, you're not doing that again, are you, for another hour? Good night and good luck for the Grinch movie. Yeah, thank you, Heather. Thanks. Yeah, I'm going on a self-date tomorrow, so don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit that great big subscribe button down below. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now, post a new video. Thank you to Michael for being an awesome moderator. I'm so happy that you are here and being a moderator now. You're doing a fantastic job, and I will love you and say good night for another night. Take care. Bye. Nice to see you. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and spread